did I come to the idea of Impasse? I've had for a long time, I've had the idea of a curtain from the beginning of the piece, slowly coming down during the piece. That was sort of the first idea. And then I imagined if the curtain is slowly coming down, and if I would have light from the front of the curtain, that would also mean that it would start to create a shadow, making the space smaller and smaller and smaller. And as the piece sort of evolves, I wanted this space to become more and more crowded, to become more and more exotic, if you will. So the beginning starts very innocent. It starts very harmonious. There's three dancers that are in peace with themselves, with each other, and with their surrounding, the landscape. You know, there's this seduction of something new, something always better, something that is, the grass is greener on the other side. And that seduction, and get lost and sort of lose yourself to, you know, some different lifestyles or ideas or technology would affect us. And the question is, you know, how far do we take it? How far do I let myself get confused or lost? So that was sort of the beginning of Impasse. The title Impasse, it's sort of a point of no return, or a place where you can't sort of go back. And I made this piece for NDT 2, whom are, you know, the young dancers of NDT. And I had to think of them, and I had to think of their future, and what we, or let's say my generation, what we're leaving behind for them to sort of inherit. We are in a place where we, as human species, are sort of, you know, slightly raping our planet and our homes. And that I wanted to touch that thought and that subject a bit. That doesn't mean that the piece is gloomy, not at all. On the contrary, actually. I wanted to address this thing, especially thinking of these young dancers, or my own children. I live in Sevilla, in Spain, and Ibrahim Alouf came to do a concert here in Sevilla. And I went to see it, and I adored it. I loved it. So I started to look into his music, then discovered this one album, The Agnostic, if I remember right. It spoke to me, you know, in such a way. I thought it was both extremely generous, but also introspective. It had so many layers to it, and so many colors, and very, very seductive music. So I completely fell in love with it. For me, yeah, one of the greatest, really. I spent 12 years dancing with NDT. I felt like I came home in a sense that I had found a company that was sort of speaking my language, and hopefully I was speaking their language. We had three companies. We had NDT 1, we had NDT 2, and NDT 3. So it was really an incredible time where so much creativity was taking place. For me, yeah, that is something that I will always have with me, and I consider myself very, very lucky to have experienced that time. It was sort of the mecca of dance, I thought. What does it mean for me to be at the Paris Opera and to have won my works there? It means a lot. I came as a young dancer with NDT back in the 90s, and we had 2 weeks of performing in the Garnier. For me, it left an impression that I will never forget. It felt like it was a place, a theater, the theater of theaters, something you could smell it in the walls, all the history. And then I remember thinking, oh, it would be so great one day to be able to come back, to finally be here and to have one of my works presented is to me a great honor. I think it's a piece that is very generous, has a lot of energy, as well as poetry in it. I think it has a lot of layers. Of course, as I mentioned before, you have the fantastic music of Ibrahim Alouf that really puts an edge to the piece. And I think it's in that way, the piece and the music is sort of hopefully seductive to you. There is a thought in there. There is a question as to where are we at as a human race? Where are we going? And what are we leaving behind? I think hopefully you will be seduced by Impasse. Its energy, its generosity, and its hope. I also wanted to give the dancers and the audience something positive, something that is hopeful.